What is up, everybody? We're back for another Fall Obsession podcast. I am Sam, your show host this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. This week, we kind of go outside of our normal box of a hunting podcast. And the reason is the day that this episode was published was 9/11. 2023, and we thought about postponing the episode to the next day, but we have a strong background, including myself, of firefighters here at Fall Obsession, so we wanted to do something special and bring some focus to first responder mental health and trauma and stuff like that, and also just hunting and outdoor therapy for individuals like this. So that's the kind of the reasoning and the talk behind this podcast. I sit down with our Fall Obsession production director, Nick Powell, during this episode. He is also a firefighter full-time outside of hunting and Fall Obsession. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Again, not our traditional podcast talk, but still one I think that's very important for anybody, not just first responders and military, to listen to. And above all other things, I do want to thank all of our listeners who are first responders, military, veterans. Thank you guys for all that you do for all of us out there. So before we get into the episode, Fall Session Podcast is driven by Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi, they book hunts with vetted outfitters. They have a strong network of outfitters across the country. Give Derek a call if you're looking to book a hunt. He will work with you on location, what you're looking to hunt, your timeline, your pricing, licensing, all that kind of stuff. He will help you out and get you situated with a trusted outfitter somewhere. Again, depending on what you're looking for. So Ridge Rock Hunt Company, go check them out. The Outdoor Call Radio app is also a partner of the podcast. Outdoors Dan from the Respect the Game TV. He started an app that you can download on any device where you can listen and stream hunting and outdoor shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. He's got different shows lined up to play on that loop every day. And you can listen on the app while you're doing other stuff. It can play in the background, all that good stuff. He's got it set up right. You can catch Fall Obsession Podcast on his show Monday mornings or all day on Monday playing on that loop. As well as our normal publications on other platforms. But if you haven't downloaded the Outdoor Call Radio app, go do it. Outdoors Dan also does a couple of live radio shows a week, and he shares those on his Facebook Live as well. So go follow him on social media if you aren't already. Last but not least, I want to bring some attention to just our podcast. And if you are affiliated with an outdoor brand or organization that you feel is interested in advertising on our podcast, I'd be happy to talk with you guys about that, share our analytics, tell you guys how good our show's doing and all that kind of stuff, and get your brand on here so that we can start getting you in front of our very large listener network. So if you're interested in that opportunity, go to fallobsession.com/podcast. There's a form on that page that you can fill out that will come to our production team, and from there we can start talking with you guys and sharing that information that you need to know and discuss this opportunity. So if you're interested in that, Fall Obsession Podcast, advertise. So if you're interested in that, go to fallobsession.com/podcast and check it out on there. That's all from me. I'm turning it over to the episode. Thank you guys for listening. And this is another Fall Obsession Podcast episode.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
All right, folks, welcome back to another podcast. I'm Sam, happy to be hanging out with you guys again. I'm on here this week with our Fall Obsession production director, Nick Powell. It's been a minute, buddy.
It has. How's it going? I'm glad to be back on here. It's I've missed it, you know?
Yeah, it's been a minute. I was talking with Todd in our last podcast about just being able to, trying to get back to not just filling our schedule with outside guests. I love doing that on the podcast and everything. I want to keep doing that by all means, but you can fill your schedule a lot quicker, and honestly, with just some pretty wholesome content just recorded in house with our own people. And
Oh yeah,
like I just said, it's been a little bit since you and I hopped on here and knocked out a
I know.
podcast. So yeah,
It's been a busy summer for sure, and I think that is one of the main reasons that not I haven't been avoiding, but just like haven't just been busy, So just
yeah,
hadn't been able to make it on.
that's all of us, man. Like I'm sure we've talked about it bits and pieces here and there, but it's just like we've both been busy with work, and
Yeah.
we'll get into what we do here in a second, but we've both been busy with work, and then yeah, it's just busy summer, busy with families, kids are getting older, so kids are doing more stuff too, so that's
Yep.
uh that's changing for us. And then like the podcast has definitely seen it. There's been a few weeks here and there where we've had to, publish reruns or, skip a new publication for a week and that kind of thing. But trying to go into hunting season strong here and keep the weekly publications going. So I'm
Heck
excited.
yeah.
But this episode, we're recording beforehand, obviously, but we're publishing this episode on 9/11, which just happened to be how everything kind of fell this year. With, I mean, you can never control that, as far as what day of the week the holidays fall on. We always publish new episodes on a Monday. And in the past, when this kind of thing has happened, like I know on Memorial Day every year, normally we bump the episode to a Tuesday for publication in honor of the holiday. And this year, with 9/11 being on a Monday, that was a thought for sure to do that again in honor of the holiday. We will still have our normal process for honoring holidays like this and everything on our socials and that kind of thing. But when it came to the podcast, we were, at least I was, up in the air on what I wanted to do. But I wanted to take the opportunity, and one reason that I wanted to record with you, aside from just us catching up on here, um, was our background. What we do outside of hunting is
Yeah.
relevant to the occasion, being firefighters, both of us, working for the same department. And um, I mean, I don't have to explain, I feel like, to Americans or the blue collar people who are listening to this podcast what 9/11 is, or the significance of it.
Yeah.
But from a first responder standpoint, that's kind of where we wanted to take our conversation today. Was talking about some of that, talking about some first responder, just mental health and trauma discussion, and then tying that back into hunting and into this being a hunting podcast with the therapeutic effect that hunting in the outdoors can have for people like us. And it's a journey for sure. I know we've touched this topic kind of briefly in bits and pieces over the years on the podcast, but it's a hunting podcast, so we don't dive into it a whole lot. But
Yeah.
um, just with the significance of 9/11, and for the average, citizen out there who might not be as familiar with first responder stuff and everything, if you walk into any fire station, most every fire station, I'd say, in the country, you're going to see something on their wall, whether it's a photo, a banner, a flag, or even some sort of other form of memorial, recognizing that day and recognizing 9/11. The number 343 is a big number in the fire service. And for those who don't know what 343 stands for, it stands for the 343 firefighters that lost their lives on that occasion.
Yep.
Um, and I think that day, that occurrence is something that it was a pivotal point for the fire service, and um, the focus on such. It seemed like a lot more focus began to transition and turn toward what first responders endure, what first responders, have to go through. And it's certainly evolved even more, in my opinion, in recent years with some other mental health drives and that kind of thing. But that day, as tragic as it is in my mind, is kind of a pivotal point to where uh, a new outlook on police and fire, military, paramedics, all that kind of stuff. Kind of that day shed a new light on that. I feel like, and
Yeah.
you can go on Google, you can Google all the photos you want in the world, and it even for somebody who's not familiar with what we do, it it rides heavy for sure. Like looking back on those photos and thinking about what those people were going through, what they had to be thinking in the moment or in the aftermath of that occasion, digging through the rubble. It just it's unimaginable. It really is.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I hope for our sake we never have to experience anything quite to that magnitude. And I hope that, nobody does, but that's also like what we sign up for in a way, is because I think you have to be built somewhat different, wired somewhat different to be able, or to want to put yourself in that situation, as difficult as it is. And so I think it's just a special breed of people, and especially those folks that were there that day that helped, because it also wasn't just like firefighters, EMTs,
Right.
police. It wasn't just them. There was a lot more, a lot bigger variety than just the first responder that helped, because it wasn't like just on that day. There's a lot of stories of your everyday heroes that just happened to be there on that day. And even the days following that, digging through that rubble and all the stuff that they had to go through, it's yeah, unimaginable is a good way to put it.
Yeah. I mean, and to that point, like unimaginable even for those of us that do the job. Like especially for a department our size, from time to time we've run some intense calls, some bigger calls, some bigger incidents we've been a part of over time. Nothing anywhere close to that magnitude, obviously, but one there was, and I even forget who said it. It was not that long ago, actually, that I was in a conversation with somebody and they mentioned this, but it's one of fire police. It's one of the few professions out there where we look at it as it's who we are and it's what we do. Like it's just
Yeah.
like showing up to work every third day or every sixth day, depending on your schedule,
Right.
showing up to work and just, plugging right in, putting your stuff on the rig, getting to work. It, like I said, it's just the routine that we go through to, start our shifts. But, when you analyze it, it's one of the few professions out there where people can, and not to put a dark spin on it, but you show up to work like okay if that's your last day, you know, and that's the reality of it. Case in point, with an incident like 9/11, 343 guys showed up for their last shift or their last job, and it's yeah, you show up with a sense of just contentment, like this is what I do, this is what expected of me,
Right.
this is a possibility, and you're, I don't want to say okay with it necessarily, but it's a realization,
Yeah.
and you accept it. So,
You accept it.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. It's just something that we've accepted when we took on this role, and we took on, like, even from the day that, we decided we wanted to be firefighters or paramedics, like that's something that we accepted on that day, that this is a dangerous profession, and we know that, and it might be, the last day, but also I'm a firm believer that you can't live your life in a way that you're afraid to do things of because that day might be your last day. I'm
right,
a firm believer that we all have uh, a day that's going to be our last. We don't know when that is, and so driving to the store, it could be your last day. And
yeah,
so I think, and that might just be my mind trying to make it easier for it to comprehend, but I think that's just something that, like I said earlier, that we're wired different, and that's just something that's okay to us, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's part of it's part of the job, it's part of the acceptance, and then you have the other side of it too, where you have your family, you have your wife, your kids, your or spouse that are just uh they're a part of that decision too, and that's probably where it's the hardest. Like, for me,
yeah,
it I don't want to, not to try to make light or sound insensitive of the situation, but for me, just going to work and doing my job, like, I'm okay with it. I've accepted that this is my job, but then you have other people involved. You have, wife and kids involved too, that
yeah,
and that adds a stress to both you and them, because you want to be able to, you know, be there for them and take care of them. They obviously don't want anything to happen to you, and it's a fear that they live with all the
oh
time.
yeah,
So there's added stressors in the family for that, and then you also take into account not necessarily the dangerous side of the job, but then just the traumatic side of the job, as far as what we deal with, what first responders deal with. An
yeah,
interesting statistic that somebody shared with me in recent years was that the average, like the average human being, the average citizen, the Monday through Friday worker, they will experience, and golly, the exact number slips my mind. It was like they will experience like 3 to 4 major, on average, 3 to 4 major traumatic events that they're firsthand involved in
yeah,
their lifetime, in their like adult lifetime. For first responders, fire, police, military, they on average are involved in experience over 900 of these types of instances and events, which the difference is absolutely incredible. And to your point that you gave earlier, it takes the right person to be able to do this job, especially when you start talking about these guys that have been doing it for 20, 30 years. We
yeah,
at our department, we just had a guy retire the other day with 35 and a half years in the
yep,
fire service, which is incredible, for somebody to be able to
yeah,
do it that long, and it's awesome. I hope that I could, be that guy, or live up to that as well. But um, it's just, you when you deal with that mentally, you have to, and that's why I'm glad there's been a huge focus on first responder mental health, at least in our world, in our neck of the woods, if you will, here lately.
sure,
Um, is just because I think more of that kind of stuff is coming to light. It's coming to light more, and taking more precedence on, hey, there needs to be you need to be able to unplug from the job. You need to be able to be home. You need to be able to be with the family. You need to not bring these stressors home and let it. I mean, people change as they get older. People change as they, experience more. Excuse me. That's going to be expected. But to not change in a negative way to where it's impacting your family negatively, and destroying your home life, basically.
yep,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah. I agree, and I think in order, because you hear all the time about these guys who are have been doing this for 25, 30, 35, sometimes 40 years, and a lot of that is like it's all that they know, and I think that's an important reason of why we train the way we do, and why we do all of the different types of training, because we don't want this next shift to be our last shift. We want to be prepared. They say a pound of preparation is worth an ounce of success. Well, that's what we do every day. We're not running dramatic calls every single day, to especially in our department. We're not just traumatic, but those high stress environment type calls, and so we have to train uh, constantly to be able to perform in those situations. um, whether you are running those calls or not. I think training is an important aspect, and that is one reason why these guys are doing this for so long, is because we have that training. And now, for so long, I feel like it focused on the physical aspect of training. Well, now I feel like we've kind of transitioned to a more mental aspect as well. And I think that's so. Hopefully, there's a change or an improvement in the mental health of first responders, and so hopefully it'll get better.
Yeah, we're seeing more. There's more departments, and again, I'm speaking for our neck of the woods. I hope that this is more nationally than maybe even I realize.
Yeah,
But there's more departments that are implementing like peer support teams. Groups of people who primarily focus at that department on the mental health side of everything and making sure that their guys are okay. And then there's more outside organizations as well with therapists and psychologists that specialize in that kind of thing, that understand fire and police, understand the first responder world. And that's one of the biggest complaints that I feel like people who are seeking help, and that's the thing. I'll sidebar off of that real quick, is it for the first responders out there who are listening, because I know that there are first responders listening to our podcast. It's okay to not be okay, and
for sure.
it's okay to seek out help when you're dealing with crap, when you're dealing with bad situations and stuff like that, triggers and bad calls, whatever it might be that's affecting you. And there's other organizations out there now that focus on specifically that, and I'm happy to share those resources with anybody who would ask of them. But there's groups out there that like their licensed therapists, their psychologists, they come up in they have their own first responder background. They just haven't been doctors the whole time. And to my point that I was originally going towards was that we and I'm speaking from my own experience too, just going to a normal, for lack of a better term, civilian therapist or something like that, they don't understand the first responder community. So while you, as the first responder, as the patient, are trying to offload your pain, basically, your
Yeah,
burdens, and work through it, at the same time you're trying to make somebody understand your profession that doesn't understand it, which
right.
is why groups like this that specialize it, in my opinion, are very valuable, because they already have that knowledge and understanding, because they themselves have been there, or their spouse has been there. They understand how to deal with it, and
Yep.
because of that, I think it makes for a much more productive environment. I know of several people who have tried to go to just normal therapists or their old therapists from before they were a first responder, and had very little success with it, trying to deal with traumatic events, just because it's they don't understand. It's not to knock on them. It's not that they don't try. They just don't understand the world
Yeah,
that we're in. So
yeah, that's for sure. And I would piggyback off what you said, and to point out that there's not a, I think the how it used to be even pre 9/11. I think it was like I think it was emphasized even more of like, if you say that you're having trouble or struggling, you're viewed as weak, or like it was a weakness. And I think that all of us working together and changing that mindset to, no, you're not, you're just, it's everybody struggles, like it doesn't make you a weak person. um, and realizing that you do need help, I think, is actually strength. And changing that mindset from being a weakness to a strength, I think, will help more people to be able to say that and admit that, yes, I do need help, and they'll go get that help, and hopefully could potentially even save their lives, because we know suicide is not anything to mess around with. So, but
right.
it is a detriment to what we go through every day and the things that we see. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So hopefully that mindset is changing to where it will just increase, and help that area.
Yeah. I feel rude. I'm checking my watch, but my trail cams are sending me pictures, so I'm getting excited
No, you're
over
good.
here.
You should get on your phone and check them right now, mid
Nah,
podcast. So
that's all
hopefully,
right. I'll refrain for just a moment longer. But um, to your point, everybody there's a lot of people that deal with it. It's not a weakness. It's something that is just being, I think, brought to light a lot more because you go back 10, 20 years in this profession, there was a whole lot more. The guys who were there back then, I'm no 15-year vet or anything by any means, but the guys that have been in this profession for a long time, they can tell you how the culture has shifted because it used to be more of a, you just kind of just suck it up and deal with it. It's the job
exactly.
type
Yep.
attitude, and that's what leads to all of these issues that we've already shed some light on and everything. So being able to have an outlet for the stuff that you deal with, and it's different for everybody as far as what you deal with or what bothers you, what you have trouble with, and then how you process it. It's different for everybody. And that's where I'm not trying to make this a deep dark mental health podcast here. I'm tying it back to hunting here because this is a hunting podcast, but that's where for a lot of people, some people that don't even realize it, hunting in the outdoors is a huge outlet for
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. And um, I know that I really have just even in recent years taken a lot more value out of it than I used to. Um, and it's been a process too from my family standpoint for like my wife to learn about, you know, kind of why I need hunting the way that I need it,
Right.
and for the reason that I need it, because it's not just because it's something I've always done since I was a kid and I enjoy, and like I'll tell anybody, like hunting's in my blood. It is. It has been long
For sure.
before I was a
Yeah.
firefighter. I was a hunter, but um, it the just the importance of it and what it does for me, the therapeutic effect of hunting in the outdoors for me has just it's been a lot more important for me lately. Just being able to
Yeah.
be out in the woods, whether it's with my dad or by myself, whatever the case might be, being out there, being able to just kind of decompress, no worries, no just you're just out there in the woods, man. And I don't want to feel like I'm just scratching. I do feel like I'm just scratching the surface, but it's a hard thing to explain. It really
Yeah.
is.
I agree.
It's an experience, is what it is. It's an emotional and a spiritual experience being out there and just having having a cool breeze and a brisk morning in a tree stand with dew on the ground and the sun coming in and shining through the trees and stuff. It just there's nothing like it. It's as close to, in my mind, it's as calm as I'm gonna get and as close to like nature and God as I'm gonna get is just how it makes me feel sitting up there in a tree
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I completely agree and feel the exact same way. Um, and I would say like just listen, being able to sit there still in the silence and be able to hear the woods come to life is an experience in itself, because I feel like even the everyday person, like not even non first responders, their lives are everybody's lives are so busy and so active. Um, just to go somewhere where you are required, not required, but you have to be still
Yeah.
and not be distracted, and just get to experience Mother Nature waking up is, and just hear, one bird at a time start going off, and it is a cool, crisp morning, and there's no wind, but it's just serene is a
Yeah.
good way to describe it. But yeah, you're right. It is an experience, and I believe it's an experience that everybody should be able to enjoy and experience. So, but like you said, that that release from the stresses of the job is different for everybody. Some people write, some people fish, some people, do whatever your mind can think of.
Yeah.
And but for me and you, it's going to sit in a tree stand and hoping something walks by.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, like as first responders, we need the outlets within our world. We need the outlets like the ability to talk to people who can relate to us, who can understand us, whether that's a peer
Yeah.
support team, whether that's somebody on your crew, whether that's, going as far as speaking to, a professional, that deals with stress and trauma. Um, we need to have those outlets and be able to recognize when we need those outlets. But then
Oh yeah.
to your point, it doesn't have to be a firefighter. It can be anybody, like just, a hardworking blue collar guy. You go to work sun up to sundown every single day of the week. By golly, sitting in a tree and just or stand, whatever, whatever floats your boat, or sitting on a boat, I guess, casting a
Yeah.
line, whatever it might be, like that has its own therapeutic effect for you as well, and that release, that outlet is important for somebody's mind. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, in my mind too, like you're sitting in a stand, you're watching the woods wake up, you're not thinking about anything else. You're there for what it is. You're a part of it, and then a deer steps out. And man, you want to talk about forgetting about literally everything else you could possibly have to think about. The
Oh
second
yeah.
that animal steps out, that is literally the only thing that you are thinking about. You don't remember anything else. And
Yeah.
that's
That's
just,
your entire focus right there.
yeah. And to be able just to, on a creature, just on another creature just emerging from the woods, to be able to, for your focus to just be that simple, I think
Yeah.
is special. It's important for
Yeah.
any human being.
And I think that kind of says a lot about Mother Nature. Like this little bitty creature comes out and it's got all of your attention, all of your focus at that moment. And so it's like something so simple can make such a huge impact on you. And so I think that's just one of the reasons that we love to do what we do, because it's something that never gets old, no matter how many times you experience it.
Yeah.
And then just put, like, it can be any deer really, and it'll have all of your attention. And then you just put, 180-inch rack on top of it. And it's like, you're literally not thinking about anything else.
You're
What I
probably
mean?
thinking about it a little
But
too much at that point.
that's true. Yeah. You're not thinking at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're trying not to stare at the antlers. That's all it comes down to at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Not saying that antlers are the most important thing ever, but they're impressive and, whatever.
Yeah, with a 180-inch deer, yeah, by golly, it's gonna be hard to focus on anything else other than that. So
Yeah. I think our audience knows our hearts. And when we say, like, they obviously know we don't just focus on antlers, and we
yeah,
meat hunt as well. Like,
yeah. For the
but
record, I've never been hunting and had a 180-inch deer walk out
same,
in front of
me
me.
neither.
I think the biggest I've ever probably laid eyes on myself has been in the 150s, and the biggest I've ever killed has been a 140. So it's not like I'm out here just hunting trophies constantly. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it's important. It's hunting in the outdoors for anybody. It's a spiritual and mental outlet for sure, and it carries its own significance, its own importance for so many people. So
Yeah.
I
And I would also say that there are groups around, like, not just professional therapists, first responder groups, but there are other groups who uh, will take first responders
yeah,
out and take them hunting, take them fishing, take them on a hike or whatever. And we have one close to where we work, which is nice, that helps our department a lot, and it's helped a lot of people in our department. And so I would say, like, if our listeners, if they have a group like that, that's, close to where they live, wherever that may be, I would try your hardest to support that group. Do what you can to support them, because they are making a difference in the first responder community. So
Yeah. They're
and the military, the veteran community as well.
Yeah, the group that you're talking about, I'll plug them. TRG, Therapeutic Recreation Group, right? I'm saying
Yep,
that right?
that's right.
So they're local in the North Texas area, close to where Nick and I work, and they try to focus a lot on just the first responders, the police, fire, and military that are in their local community, and
Right.
and try to get them out on. They do trips pretty regularly, and you got to go on one last year, was it?
Last August, yeah.
Yeah. So it's awesome what they're doing and everything, and then like obviously not necessarily to that scale, but for us at Fall Obsession, we try to support first responders and veterans and all that kind of stuff as much as we possibly could. I know thanks to one of our staff members, Waylon Langford, we've past couple years been able to do a veteran hunt out at his place. Taking a vet who on an opportunity just to go deer hunting that he wouldn't be able to go in another sense. And we had a great first year out there with Mark Zorich, our first year vet that we took, and he shot a nice whitetail out there and had a incredible weekend. Both weekends with both guys have been incredible. Last year we got to take a guy named Mike Demshock out there, and unfortunately the hunting was a little bit harder the second year than it was the first year, so we did not get to put a deer on the ground for Mike. But of course that's a little disappointing for everybody involved, but Mike was just grateful to get out in the woods and be out there and spending time away for a 3-day weekend, and just go hunt. It's just a cool experience for him, and funny story. Like the good thing about or the cool thing I should say about the situation with Mike is he's actually local to us down here in Texas, and he actually came to the Labor Day party the other day. So we got to see him and follow up with him.
Oh, that's
too.
right. That's right.
So that was pretty neat to still be able to see him every once in a while down here. But again, it's about getting people in the outdoors. Whatever kind of trip it might be, and maybe hunting's not your thing. Maybe you're not a deer hunter. Maybe you don't even like killing animals. But by golly, I encourage you, even if that's the case, to go experience the outdoors, because
there are several ways to experience the outdoors.
The
for
outdoors
sure.
is a special place.
Yeah, I mean, just to throw a few examples, you can hike, you can do photography, like wilderness photography, and so you don't have to go kill anything, but just being out there and experiencing it is a gift in itself, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty special. But
yeah, absolutely.
So what else is new, man? We've talked about all the hot and heavy stuff, but now we're
just trying to get this new bow dialed in.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of I'm sure everybody saw it, but I've been holding this arrow the whole time. Me and Sam were talking about.
It's like your fidget spinner.
Yeah, exactly. I've been sitting here spinning it the whole time. It'll keep me from fumbling over my words like I do on a regular basis, especially on here. But yeah, just trying to get that bow dialed in, get it ready for the season. Now we're recording this, and basically hunting seasons in Texas have already started. So it's like literally right around the corner. So I just got to do some little final touches, and I'm sure everybody saw that I had some success with the Omnia already. So, just trying to do a couple little things here, but that success came with some losses as well. So like arrows and broadheads. So I got to do a little bit more purchasing and get get that stuff dialed in. But
He's
yeah,
holding that arrow because it's his last arrow, and he's afraid if he puts it down, he's going to lose it.
yeah. So this is one of two good arrows that I have right now. I have three total, but I don't know if y'all can see this on the podcast video, but I have outserts on my arrows, and the one that's not good has the rest of a broadhead stuck inside of the outsert here. So I have to take that by Cinnamon Creek and get them to fix it as well. So hopefully, if they can, but
Yeah.
another trip to Cinnamon Creek is in my future.
Well,
So
maybe we just need to plan another day to head out there because I also am in need of a Cinnamon Creek trip. So
all
maybe
right, let's
maybe
do it. Maybe next week we can do it.
yeah, maybe next week we need to find a day before it gets any closer to season. But
Yeah, for sure. The sooner the better, I think. But
yeah, it's just it's creeping. It's creeping up on us. It's just
I
been.
know.
I know Dad and I went out to the lease the other day, and we got a newsstand put up. I think I showed you that spot up close to camp. Like if you walk down that little power line that goes east of camp, not
Yep,
off of the main road. Did I show you that spot, that little clump of
I
trees
think
back
so.
there? Yeah. So
Yep.
we went back there and we took a chainsaw and we limbed up that tree and got another ladder stand in that clump of oaks back there and got a feeder set up about 25 yards out. Got a pen around it and it's throwing corn and feeding already. So we want. I mean, Dad has been talking about it. I know you and I have seen it. Like it seems like almost every time you either leave or come back to camp on that main road, you see deer. And I mean
Oh
like a
yeah.
big group of deer, like 6 or 8 does and fawns, running around. So we kind of wanted to take advantage of that. So now about 300 yards east of camp, you could walk to it from camp. We got a stand set up for archery hunting. So I'm
Heck
excited.
yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty good. So
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think we'll have because it has been hot in Texas, but I don't think it's been quite as droughty as it was last year. So I think we had a good spring, and so hopefully this year will be a good year for
I,
for
I
deer.
I'm definitely based on the pictures we're seeing. I'm more pleased with the antler growth this year compared to like last year. Last year was bad. Drought wise though, man, like it's way, in my opinion, it's way drier out there this year than
Oh,
it
is it?
was last year. It's pretty rough out there right now. So I'm the smallest pond that's down the farthest south one that's right next to the main road. It's bone
Yep.
dry. There's not a
Really?
drop of water in it. The other two still have water, but they're low. And I'm glad that they still have water, but like out there, unless I'm parked on the road, I don't even leave my truck idling because I feel like the grass is just so dry and crunchy underneath it and
Yeah.
tall. I don't want to take any chances of just any sort of heat putting anything, lighting anything off. It doesn't need to. I've seen enough
Yeah.
brush trucks catch grass on the bottom side on fire. I don't want to do that out there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
I'm always waiting, always waiting to hear if there's, because I don't know if our listeners know or not, but I just got back from a wildland deployment
yeah.
with our town, and it was. I kind of keep up with it a little bit, so I'm always waiting to hear to see if there's something that pops up out there. I'm
Yeah.
like, we've been lucky so far, but
Yeah, you had one that was what, like 30 miles away last year or something
it
like
was like
that?
it was like 30 miles north of
Yeah,
our deer lease,
yeah.
so
I think that's
a little too close for comfort.
yeah, like knock on wood,
Yeah,
we don't want it to get any closer than that. But
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and I definitely feel for those folks that, have lost either their own hunting ranches or properties or their leases, whatever the case might be, to fires and stuff. I don't even want to begin to think about what kind of a pain that must be trying to bounce back from something like that. So, but it's
Yeah,
it's a reality for some people, and it's one of those things that, down here you probably don't think much of it until it happens to you. So it's
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
because
that's,
it could be something that's totally, unrelated. It's not even related to your property. It could have started on the next property or whatever, or a lightning strike even.
yeah,
So I know on the deployment I just got back from, we ran a lightning strike fire. And so it was, you just never know. But yeah, I saw several feeders and deer stands and stuff that were just destroyed from fire. And we talked earlier about Mother Nature being super serene, but she can also be, you know, not so serene also.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those ways of resetting if something gets out of control. That's just her way of like saying, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Time to reset this area, you know. And it so but yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those realities of living and hunting in Texas that some people don't think about. So,
Yeah, for
especially on
sure.
a drought year like now. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't think about that, but like the 20 days in a row of 100 plus heat,
oh
I
man.
thought it was, we did have a pretty wet spring, but you know, it wasn't any match for the summer that was coming. So
No, I was talking the other day to one of the guys at our house about like our trees and stuff on our property because we live on just a couple acres, but we have a for a couple acres we have a decent amount of trees and stuff on the backside, and
yeah,
just with the droughts we've had the last 2 years, I've lost the two biggest pecan trees that we had, and I've lost several more. I'm running a sprinkler out there on one clump of trees close to the house, like just every evening, just turn it on and letting it go for a while just to try and
yeah,
every night doing that just to try and save those trees, keep them from burning up. But
yeah,
it's been harsh. I think
it's tough.
I'm hoping it's over because I think this week or at the time where y'all are listening, the end of last week for Texas in our area was supposed to be the last real hot stint with these 100+ degree temps, and
Yeah,
now second week in September we should be getting into the 80s and some more reasonable temps down here. So I'm looking forward to
yeah. I
that.
think the high in a few days is going to be like 91, so that'll
Yeah.
be real nice.
Yeah. Some people are probably like 91 degrees? Oh my word,
Yeah,
that's hot. No,
it's
no.
going to feel so good
I'll
too.
take I'll take 91 any day. I'll play outside.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a good lease day.
Yeah, for sure. I am glad that we've gotten Dad and I have been able to do the work that we got done so far out there, because now it's kind of maintaining. Like, I don't feel like the rest of the trips going out there until the season starts are going to be as strenuous. I need to go out and obviously put the ground blinds up probably next time I go out there, and
Yeah,
I need to go to the campsite, take my mower out there and mow, and then beginning of the season, obviously I'll be bringing the camper out there, and got to put another couple cameras out whenever we get some reveals from Tacticam, hopefully. So get
yeah,
some of those out there and get them scouting. So looking forward to
yeah.
that.
Me and Dad, we still have some cameras we got to put out. We got to go put corn in the feeders. I know we're kind of late on that, but we're gonna plan on getting out there sometime soon to do that sort of stuff. So
Yeah,
I don't think we're gonna change up any of our stands, but we just need to get the deer coming back to them basically. So
yeah. No, we and that's the nice thing, and I think I might have told you that, or I know I talked about it on the podcast at some point recently. How you know, first day I was out there working, filming the pilot for season 3 of Texas Dirt. That was the day you got deployed and had to bail on me.
yeah,
The
sorry.
No, it's all good. That was the day I felt like, man, I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. But by the end of the day, it was like, you know what? In 6 hours, I just reset everything to baseline, basically, and which has been the max. Like last year, that was the maximum capacity of what we had worked toward. And in 6 hours, I have us already back to that level, basically. Anything we do after today is just bonus, basically. It's extra.
Bonus, yeah,
So that kind of reassured me, and kind of brought it back in perspective, the forward progress we're making out the
yeah,
place. And also I thought back and I was like, well, man, last year this time we moved a couple feet. Dad and I moved a couple feeders, we moved his stand and everything like that. We haven't moved anything this year. We've been content with what we've had and the spots we've had. We've just added more. So and
yeah,
that's the benefit of only having four guys on 800 acres, is being able to have multiple setups and have a bunch of options out there for folks, and
for
that's kind
sure.
of the goal. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's just part of this is going to be our third year,
yeah,
and we're already at that point where we're not having to move things, and we're good with where things are at. Now it's just maintaining basically,
yeah,
and so yeah, I think that's just for the first couple of years that was part of we expected that for the most part to have those growing pains in a way.
yeah.
And so now I'm glad we've finally reached that point to where we can just go out there, put corn in them, put a camera on them, and then leave it alone. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited though.
And we still have other ambitions later on, like food plots and continuing to evolve and grow the location. I know last year you and I found that old cattle run that probably hadn't
Yep.
been touched in 20 years, but it has nice pipe fence that's going to keep the cows out of anything that we put in there. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's a spot in the future worth investing some time in probably, and
Oh
another
yeah.
location. It's in an area not a whole lot of other stuff is. And that's the other thing, trying to balance stuff out. And I talk about, and you guys will see in season 3 of Texas Dirt, like I think one of the things I talk about is feed times. Like when am I feeding, on these different feeders and locations, and for locations that are close enough together where I run the potential of seeing the same deer at these locations, I try to alternate the feed times on these feeders. And the deer develop that pattern, they learn which one goes off first. So,
Yep.
people are like, well, how far out do you want to spread out? That way you don't, like, you're not screwing yourself. Like if you could hunt stand A or stand B and you pick one, well, what's to keep the deer from going to the other? Well, my hope is that I see the same deer at both of them,
Yeah,
because I
exactly.
have one going off at 7 o'clock and I have another going off at 7:30, and based on the distance between the two, that's enough time for the deer to work their way from one to the other within the time that I'm there hunting. So
Yep.
if I'm hunting one and they show up at 7 at the other one, well, guess what? 30 minutes later, I have a shot at seeing them over here. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but just another tactic to the Texas hunting mindset, I guess.
That's right.
It's some people are thinking, man, y'all are just baiters down there. That's all y'all are. Well, welcome to
Yep.
Texas. This is how we hunt.
That's right. That's right. That's how it's done.
Yeah. Well, buddy, it's good to sit down, good to record a podcast.
Yeah.
Glad we were able to talk about some stuff. And I mean, for those who don't know, whether we said it or not, I know we've said it in previous episodes, but we work for the same fire department. We're now on at 2 different stations on 2 different ladder trucks. Thankfully, on the same shift, so that helps with
Yeah.
hunting and other things that we try to do.
Absolutely.
But in 2 days we get to both experience the amber lamps together.
Yep.
So that's gonna be
Yep. Our
fun.
worlds will collide.
Uh that hasn't happened very often. So,
Yeah, it's been probably what, a year or so since the last time that happened.
man, I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many times you and I have rode the box together. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
it'll be fun. But all right, well, we're gonna wrap it up for another Fall Obsession podcast. But I appreciate you guys listening. Check out all the social medias. Go give us a like and a follow. Check out the online store at fallobsession.com. That's how you support a small hunting brand. And it's 9/11 today, but tomorrow is September 12th, and that is the day that we find out the results of the Carbon TV Awards for 2023. We were nominated for Best Podcast, and Texas Dirt, our hunting series down here we've been talking about, was nominated for Best Comedic Moment because this guy had to drive a Toyota Prius out there on Texas Dirt, and it was
Hopefully we can do it again this year.
yeah, it was an award-winning moment apparently, or could be an award-winning moment. We'll find out
Yeah.
tomorrow. But for anybody that got on and voted for our shows in the 2-week voting period last month, we really appreciate it. Thank you guys for showing your support. Looking forward to the results tomorrow, whether we win or not in these respective categories. I'm really honored just that we were nominated, period, for best podcast and a comedic moment within our first year on the Carbon TV platform.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
pretty awesome, and the analytics speak for themselves. just what we have seen from the support of the Carbon TV listeners. We can't thank y'all enough for tuning in to Fall Obsession Podcast and Texas Dirt and our other series on there. Please keep doing it, and we're going to keep dishing out the content and keep it coming y'all's way, and we hope that you guys enjoy. So thank y'all for your support. Win or lose, we're happy to be a part. We're happy to be on the team. So
Yeah,
just happy to suit up, you know. So
that's right.
all right, guys. Thank y'all for listening. We're back again next week for another episode. I'll catch you then.
Catch you later.